Welcome. Tonight, we invite you into a peaceful corner of the universe. In the dark and tumultuous era of the Great Crusade, when humanity sought to reclaim its lost dominions among the stars, the seeds of the Black Templars were sown. The Emperor of mankind, in his grand vision to unite humanity and expand the Imperium, gathered the most valiant warriors, the Adeptus Astartes. Among these was the Imperial Fists Legion, renowned for their stoicism, discipline, and unwavering loyalty. It was within this esteemed chapter that the man who would become the first High Marshal of the Black Templars emerged, Sigismund. Sigismund was the first to swear allegiance to the Emperor, a stalwart warrior forged in the fires of battle and tempered by the tragedies of war. He served as the captain of the Imperial Fist's First Company and was known for his unparalleled martial prowess. Sigismund's valor was unmatched, earning him respect from his brothers and admiration from the Emperor himself. He was a paragon of the Imperial Fist's ideals, embodying their strength and duty, but he also possessed a fervent spirit that set him apart. As the Great Crusade unfolded, the Emperor sought to consolidate his power and quell the threats posed by the forces of chaos and the myriad alien races that roamed the galaxy. The Imperial Fists took part in numerous campaigns, leading the charge against the enemies of mankind. Sigismund distinguished himself during these campaigns, becoming a key figure in the Legion's efforts to reclaim worlds. However, the shadows of betrayal were lurking, and the seeds of the Horus heresy began to take root among the ranks of the Space Marines. When Horus, the favored son of the Emperor, fell to the whispers of chaos, the galaxy was thrown into turmoil. The Imperial Fists found themselves on the front lines of a war that threatened to tear the Imperium apart. Sigismund remained steadfast, refusing to yield to despair. He took it upon himself to lead the defense of Terra, the cradle of humanity and the Emperor's sacred domain, as the traitor legions descended upon it with fury. In the defense of the Imperial Palace, Sigismund's resolve was tested like never before. He commanded his forces with tactical brilliance, orchestrating counterattacks against overwhelming odds. The siege was brutal, and the losses mounted as the forces of chaos battered against the walls of the palace. Sigismund fought alongside his brothers, embodying the ideals of honor and sacrifice, refusing to abandon his duty even as hope dwindled. During the darkest moments of the siege, Sigismund earned the title of the Emperor's Champion, donning a unique suit of power armor adorned with the Emperor's iconography and a distinctive black pauldron. As the battle raged, the Imperial Fists made a final stand. Sigismund faced off against a host of Chaos champions, each seeking to claim his life and claim glory for their dark gods. With unwavering resolve, he fought with an intensity that surpassed even the fiercest of foes. His prowess with the sword was legendary, cutting through Chaos warriors and defending the Emperor's legacy. Yet, amid the chaos and carnage, Sigismund witnessed the tragic betrayal of his brothers. The Imperial Fists faced not only the traitor legions but also the internal strife that threatened to rip the Legion apart. As the Siege of Terra reached its climax, Sigismund stood as a beacon of hope amidst the despair. He fought valiantly at the Emperor's side, rallying the remnants of the Imperial Fists against the encroaching darkness. The ultimate confrontation with Horus loomed, and Sigismund prepared himself for the inevitable. He knew that his duty was to protect the Emperor at all costs, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. When the final assault on the throne room occurred, Sigismund led the charge, cutting a path through the traitor forces. But as he neared Horus, the full horror of the heresy unfolded. The Emperor and Horus clashed in a titanic struggle, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Sigismund, ever loyal, fought fiercely to protect the Emperor, but it was a battle that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. In the aftermath of the Horus heresy, The Imperial fists emerged battered and broken, but Sigismund's spirit remained unyielding. He recognized that the Imperium was fracturing, and the ideals that once held the Emperor's vision together were under threat. The Imperial fists faced an uncertain future, and Sigismund knew that a new path must be forged. Determined to uphold the Emperor's will and protect humanity, he gathered a force of his most loyal brethren. They would become the Black Templars, a chapter defined not only by their fierce devotion to the Emperor, but also by their unending crusade against the enemies of mankind. Thus, the Black Templars were born from the ashes of betrayal and the fury of war. Sigismund became their first High Marshal, vowing to lead his warriors into the heart of darkness, to atone for the sins of the Imperium, and to fulfill the Emperor's will. The chapter adopted a new creed, one that emphasized zeal, honor, and a relentless pursuit of the enemies of mankind. The Black Templars swore an oath of moment, pledging their lives to the Emperor and vowing to seek out and purge heresy wherever it arose. From their inception, the Black Templars would carry the scars of their origins with them. Each battle fought a testament to their unyielding spirit and determination. Sigismund led his new brethren on a series of crusades, traversing the galaxy in their battle barges, searching for those who would threaten humanity's survival. They would strike without warning, leaving destruction in their wake, fueled by their fervent belief in the Emperor's vision. And so, the tale of the Black Templars began, marked by bloodshed, sacrifice, and an unquenchable thirst for justice in a galaxy that often seemed devoid of hope. Their legacy would be one of honor and valor, eternally intertwined with the Emperor's own, as they sought to fulfill their sacred duty against all odds. With the Black Templars established under the steadfast leadership of Sigismund, their journey took shape amidst the grandeur and chaos of the Great Crusade. The Imperium sought to unite humanity across the stars, reclaiming lost worlds and forging new alliances against the myriad threats that loomed. In this era of exploration and conflict, the Black Templars would emerge as fierce champions of the Emperor's will, guided by a singular purpose: to eradicate all who would threaten mankind's dominion. As the Black Templars launched their first crusade, their battle barges set sail through the void of space, their vessels adorned with the black and white iconography of their chapter. These ships became a sanctuary for the warriors who lived and breathed the fervor of the Emperor's mission. Every Templar was a devoted knight, eager to prove their valor in battle, with their faith acting as both shield and sword. Sigismund, now High Marshal, instilled a sense of brotherhood among his warriors, emphasizing the need for unwavering loyalty and an unquenchable thirst for justice. The Black Templars were not like other chapters. They rejected the rigid structure and lengthy campaigns favored by many of their Astartes brethren. Instead, they adopted a more aggressive and rapid approach, favoring bold strikes against their enemies. Each campaign was a holy pilgrimage, a crusade imbued with the sacred mission to vanquish the foes of humanity. They often sought out isolated worlds suffering under the yoke of Xenos or heretical forces, landing with ferocity and purpose, cutting through the darkness with righteous fury. Their first significant campaign led them to the fringes of Imperial space, where reports of a Xenos race known as the Orcs had emerged. These brutish green-skinned aliens had overrun several planets, pillaging and slaughtering all who stood in their way. The Black Templars could not abide such atrocities. They knew that every moment the Orcs thrived represented a threat to mankind. Sigismund rallied his warriors, and the Templars plunged into the fray. Landing on the war-torn planet of Calthrax, the Templars quickly established a base of operations, receiving intelligence from the beleaguered Imperial Guard units that had struggled to hold the line against the Xenos. The sight was grim. Cities reduced to rubble, entire battalions annihilated, and the unmistakable stench of blood and smoke hung heavy in the air. But the Black Templars were undeterred. Clad in their black power armor, they descended into the chaos, wielding their bolters and chainswords with ferocious zeal. Sigismund led the assault, a towering figure of righteous fury, his distinctive black armor gleaming under the distant sun. With a war cry that echoed across the battlefield, he and his battle brothers surged forward, engaging the orcs in brutal close combat. The greenskins, reveling in the chaos of battle, initially underestimated their foes. But as the Templars cut through their ranks, the tide began to turn. Sigismund, wielding his famed sword, the sword of the Emperor, cleaved through orc after orc, embodying the fury of the Emperor's wrath. The battle raged for days, a cacophony of gunfire, explosions, and the war cries of both Astartes and orcs. The Templars fought with a relentless ferocity, each warrior drawing strength from their faith and the brotherhood they shared. As the Black Templars pushed deeper into orc territory, they encountered tougher foes, orc war bosses and their retinues, savage leaders who rallied their kind for a final stand. Sigismund, undeterred by the odds, led his Templars into the heart of the orc encampments, where he faced the mightiest of these foes. The clash between Sigismund and the orc war boss was legendary. The war boss towered over him, a hulking brute adorned with crude armor and wielding a massive cleaver. But Sigismund stood firm, unwavering in the face of such overwhelming size. With a calculated strike, he engaged the war boss, the sword of the Emperor shining with an otherworldly light as it cut through the air. The duel was fierce, each blow resonating across the battlefield, a testament to the strength of faith against raw brutality. As the battle neared its climax, the tide began to shift. The Black Templars rallied their forces, drawing upon the well of their unyielding resolve. With a surge of righteous fury, they pressed the orcs back, driving them into a chaotic retreat. The remnants of the greenskin horde fled into the wilderness, their spirit broken by the relentless assault of the Black Templars. Calthrax was liberated, its people saved from the clutches of Zeno's brutality, and the Templars emerged victorious, their first crusade etched into the annals of history. The campaign on Calthrax solidified the Black Templars' reputation as fearsome warriors. Word of their valor spread like wildfire, attracting new recruits eager to join their ranks. Among the new initiates was a young neophyte named Helbrecht, whose fervor and devotion mirrored that of Sigismund. Helbrecht quickly distinguished himself in battle, proving his worth time and again as he fought alongside the Templars, forging bonds of brotherhood that would last a lifetime. The Black Templars continued their crusades across the galaxy, each campaign a testament to their unwavering spirit. They struck at the heart of heretical cults, purged Zeno's infestations, and quelled rebellions against the Imperium. Each victory was celebrated as a sacred act, and the Templars took great pride in their deeds, with every fallen brother honored in the hallowed halls of their battle barges. Yet, with each triumph came the whispers of war and darkness. The galaxy was filled with countless threats, and the Templars could not afford to rest. Sigismund, ever the champion of the Emperor's will, knew that their fight was far from over. With each new campaign, they learned more about the insidious nature of the enemies they faced, and the war against chaos became ever more pressing. The Black Templars found themselves engaged not only in battles against Xenos, but also against the traitorous forces that sought to undermine the Emperor's vision. As the Great Crusade unfolded, Sigismund remained vigilant, his eyes set on the greater war that loomed on the horizon. With each world liberated, with each enemy vanquished, the Black Templars steeled themselves for the trials to come. Their faith in the Emperor and their purpose as warriors became a beacon of hope in the dark, and they marched onward, their hearts burning with the light of righteousness, ready to confront whatever horrors awaited them in the vastness of space. As the Black Templars continued their crusades across the galaxy, the fires of war burned ever brighter, illuminating the grim realities of the universe. The Great Crusade, intended to unite humanity under the Emperor's guiding light, was beset by dangers from all corners. The relentless struggles against Xeno's threats and heretical uprisings were only the beginning. The insidious forces of chaos, long lurking in the shadows, began to assert their influence, seeking to sow discord and destruction among the stars. The galaxy was a tapestry of conflict, and as the Black Templars ventured further into the void, they encountered a growing tide of heresy. Word reached Sigismund that a sect of fanatical worshippers had emerged on the world of Vexaria Prime. These cultists, known as the Cult of the Crimson Dawn, were fervently devoted to the dark gods of chaos. They preached doctrines of despair and promised their followers power in exchange for their souls, spreading corruption and fear among the populace. This was not merely a local disturbance. It threatened to engulf entire systems in darkness. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Sigismund convened a council of his trusted commanders aboard their flagship, the Sword of the Emperor. The chamber was adorned with banners of their victories, illuminated by flickering torches that cast dancing shadows on the walls. Sigismund stood at the head of the table, a stalwart figure, his black power armor gleaming ominously. His voice carried the weight of authority as he outlined their next crusade. The Black Templars would not only cleanse the world of its corruption, but would also seek to root out the source of the heresy itself. With their objective set, the Black Templars prepared for the assault on Vexaria Prime. The battle barges thrummed with energy as the warriors donned their war gear and prayed for the Emperor's guidance. Each Templar took to heart the significance of their mission. The fate of innocent lives rested on their shoulders. The chapter's initiates, including Helbrecht, felt a mix of excitement and trepidation, aware that this crusade could very well lead them into the depths of darkness. As the Templars descended through the atmosphere of Vexaria Prime, they beheld a world teetering on the brink of chaos. The once thriving cities now lay in ruins, consumed by the fires of fanaticism. The sky, once bright and blue, was choked with ash, dark clouds swirling ominously above. Sigismund led his warriors down to the surface, their landing craft roaring through the smoke-laden air, eager to confront the vile cultists who had corrupted this world. Upon landing, the Templars quickly established a perimeter and began their advance into the heart of the city. The streets were eerily quiet, with remnants of the local populace hiding in fear. The architecture, once grand and beautiful, had been defaced with blasphemous symbols of chaos. Sigismund, sensing the weight of despair in the air, led his brothers with purpose, determined to cleanse the taint of heresy and restore hope. As they pushed through the streets, they encountered their first skirmishes with the cultists. The followers of the Crimson Dawn were fanatical and numerous, armed with makeshift weapons and fueled by fervent zeal. They attacked with a mindless rage, but the Black Templars were unfazed. Sigismund's command echoed through the chaos, each Templar falling into their battle formations as they countered the onslaught. The clash of bolter fire and the shouts of battle filled the air. Sigismund moved with deadly grace, his sword cleaving through the ranks of cultists as though they were mere straw. Around him, the Black Templars displayed their prowess, their training honed to perfection through countless battles. With every enemy felled, they advanced deeper into the heart of the city, their resolve unbreakable. As they approached the center of Vexaria Prime, they discovered the cultists had gathered in a makeshift temple, a grotesque structure adorned with the symbols of chaos and strewn with the remnants of the innocent who had fallen prey to their madness. It was here that the true leader of the cult, a powerful sorcerer named Varnith, awaited them. He was shrouded in dark robes, his eyes glowing with a malevolent light, embodying the very essence of chaos. Varnith had been drawing upon the powers of the warp, seeking to corrupt the very fabric of reality on Vexoria Prime. The air crackled with dark energy as the Templars stormed the temple. Sigismund, sensing the overwhelming malevolence emanating from within, steeled himself for the battle ahead. He knew that to defeat Varnath was to sever the grip of chaos on this world and save the remaining citizens from eternal damnation. As the Black Templars breached the temple's threshold, they were met with fierce resistance. The cultists, driven mad by their devotion, surged forward, seeking to defend their master at all costs. Sigismund fought valiantly, his sword cleaving through the throngs of fanatics, but Varnath summoned forth dark powers that twisted the very air around him. Shadows writhed and contorted, coiling like serpents, seeking to ensnare the Astartes. The battle reached a fever pitch as Sigismund and his brothers pressed onward, driven by their sacred mission. Each Templar fought not just for their lives, but for the souls of the innocent who had suffered under Varnath's tyranny. Bolter rounds erupted with thunderous blasts, cutting through the darkness. In the chaos, Helbrecht distinguished himself, his every strike precise and calculated, earning the respect of his brothers as they fought side by side. Varnath unleashed his sorcery, dark tendrils of energy lashing out, striking at the Templars and threatening to consume them. But Sigismund, embodying the very spirit of the Emperor, rallied his brothers. He shouted words of encouragement, urging them to hold firm, to channel their faith into their weapons. With a rallying cry, they charged forward, determined to confront the sorcerer directly. In a climactic clash, Sigismund faced Varnath, the dark sorcerer's laughter echoing through the temple. The air shimmered with dark energy, the power of chaos threatening to overwhelm even the mightiest of Astartes. The battle was fierce. Varnath unleashed blasts of warp energy that tore through the stone, but Sigismund stood undaunted. His resolve fortified by his faith, he met the sorcerer's power with his own. As they clashed, Sigismund called upon the might of the Emperor, channeling his righteous fury into each swing of his blade. The very ground shook as the two forces collided, and in a moment of clarity, Sigismund found the opening he needed. With a final, powerful stroke, he drove the sword of the Emperor into Varnath's heart, banishing the dark sorcerer and severing his connection to the warp. The temple shook as if the very world reacted to the destruction of Varnath. The dark energies dissipated, leaving only echoes of despair in their wake. The cultists, witnessing the fall of their master, were filled with terror. Many fled into the shadows, while others fell to their knees, lost without the guidance of their twisted prophet. The Black Templars seized the opportunity, purging the remnants of the cult with ruthless efficiency. With Varnath's death, the cult of the Crimson Dawn collapsed, and the surviving citizens of Vexoria Prime began to emerge from their hiding places, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and hope. Sigismund and his brothers knelt, offering prayers of thanksgiving to the Emperor for their victory. They had faced the darkness and emerged triumphant, but they knew that the fight was far from over. The liberation of Vexoria Prime marked a pivotal moment for the Black Templars. They had not only vanquished a great evil, but had also restored faith in the Emperor among the people. Sigismund and Helbrecht both sensed the importance of this victory, understanding that it would inspire future crusades and recruit new warriors to their cause. As they prepared to leave Vexoria Prime, the Templars established a monastery to serve as a bastion of hope for the world, a place where the teachings of the Emperor would take root once more. The legacy of their crusade would endure, spreading tales of valor and righteousness among the people, instilling in them the knowledge that the Emperor would never abandon his loyal subjects. The Black Templars continued their journey, their hearts ablaze with the flame of faith, ever vigilant against the encroaching darkness. Each victory solidified their bond as brothers in arms, and each fallen foe was a reminder of the greater struggle against the forces of chaos. With the galaxy still shrouded in shadows, the Black Templars prepared for their next crusade, ever resolute in their mission to protect humanity and serve the Emperor with unyielding determination. As the Black Templars pressed onward, their crusade against the dark forces threatening the galaxy continued unabated. Each victory bolstered their resolve, but the universe was vast, and new threats loomed on the horizon. The chapter's determination remained unshaken, fueled by their faith in the Emperor and their unwavering commitment to protect humanity from the myriad evils that sought to devour it. Not long after their victory on Vexoria Prime, reports began to trickle in from the world of Harrow's Reach, a frontier planet on the fringes of Imperial space. Once a prosperous mining colony, Harrow's Reach had recently fallen under the control of a warlord named Drakther, a brutal tyrant who had seized power through treachery and force. His forces were well-armed and ruthless, enslaving the populace and using them to bolster his own military might. The plight of the citizens reached the ears of the Black Templars, and it became clear that the chapter could not stand idle while such tyranny reigned. In the grand hall of their flagship, the Sword of the Emperor, Sigismund gathered his commanders. The atmosphere was charged with purpose as they discussed their next move. Reports indicated that Drakther had begun to rally other factions under his banner, forming a coalition of warlords that threatened to destabilize the region further. To ignore this rising tide of chaos would mean the loss of yet another world to darkness. As Sigismund outlined the plan for their assault, Helbrecht felt the weight of destiny upon him. He understood that this campaign would not merely be a battle against a tyrant. It represented a stand against the growing anarchy that threatened to engulf countless systems. The Templars were not just warriors. They were symbols of hope for the oppressed. With the resolve of their brothers echoing in his heart, Helbrecht swore to fight valiantly alongside them. The Black Templars prepared to deploy to Harrow's Reach, their battle barges descending through the clouds, the planet's surface rapidly approaching. The once vibrant landscapes had been marred by Drakther's regime. Blackened buildings and plumes of smoke rose from the ground as the Templars landed, their presence heralding a storm of righteous retribution. Sigismund's voice boomed over the Vox channels, giving orders and emphasizing the importance of this mission. The Templars marched forth, a wall of ceramite and adamantium, their bolters gleaming in the light of the planet's sun. They moved with purpose, their formation tight, battle chants rising to the skies. The first skirmishes began almost immediately as they encountered Drakther's forces, mercenaries and soldiers of fortune who fought for gold and glory. They charged with a frenzied zeal, yet the Templars were unyielding. Bolter fire erupted, the explosive rounds tearing through armor and flesh alike, sending the enemy scattering in panic. As they advanced, Helbrecht felt the exhilaration of battle coursing through his veins. The cries of the fallen and the scent of gunpowder filled the air, and he found himself drawn into the rhythm of the conflict. He fought alongside his brothers, a living testament to the Emperor's will, striking down those who dared to oppose them. The chaos of the battlefield became a symphony of destruction, and Helbrecht embraced his role within it. Deep within the heart of the city, Drakther watched the battle unfold from a fortified command post. He was a hulking figure, clad in jagged armor that reflected his brutal nature. With a sneer, he observed the Templars, recognizing the threat they posed to his rule. Drakther was no mere warlord. He was a man driven by ambition, a lust for power that had consumed him. He would not allow the Black Templars to disrupt his carefully constructed dominion. Summoning his lieutenants, Drakther devised a plan. He would unleash his most fearsome troops, the Iron Revenants, an elite cadre of warriors augmented by the dark technology of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These were not merely soldiers. They were living weapons, driven by their master's will, and he intended to unleash them upon the Templars. He believed that overwhelming force could crush any resistance, and he underestimated the indomitable spirit of the Emperor's chosen. As the Templars fought their way through the city, the ground shook with the sound of heavy machinery. From the depths of the warlord's fortress emerged the Iron Revenants, clad in menacing black armor, their forms enhanced by grim technological augmentations. They advanced like a storm, weapons primed and ready, eager to engage the Astartes. Sigismund, sensing the shift in the tide, rallied his forces. This was a pivotal moment, and the outcome of their mission depended on their ability to withstand the onslaught. The Iron Revenants clashed with the Templars in a brutal melee. The air was thick with the scent of oil and blood as bolter rounds rang out, the sharp retorts mingling with the screams of the dying. Helbrecht found himself in the thick of it, his blade a blur as he parried blows from the ironclad warriors. They fought with a relentless fury, but he was undeterred. Each strike he made was imbued with purpose, a reminder that he fought not just for victory but for the freedom of the oppressed people of Harrow's Reach. Sigismund led the charge against Drakthar's elite, his sword gleaming in the chaos. He faced one of the Iron Revenants, a towering behemoth with an enormous chainsword whirring menacingly. The creature roared as it swung its weapon, but Sigismund was quick, dodging the blow and countering with a precise strike that severed the creature's arm. The warrior staggered back, and Sigismund pressed his advantage, plunging his blade into the Revenant's core. Around him, the Templars fought with unparalleled tenacity, their faith in the Emperor acting as a shield against the relentless tide of enemy warriors. They pushed deeper into the heart of the fortress, inching closer to Drakthar himself. The warlord's rage simmered, and he unleashed his fury, rallying the remaining forces around him for one last stand. Finally, the Templars breached the inner sanctum of Drakthar's fortress. The air was thick with the scent of burning oil and blood as they encountered the warlord at the heart of his domain. Drakthar, surrounded by his remaining lieutenants, sneered at the Templars, believing that he could turn the tide of battle through sheer force of will. Sigismund stepped forward, his presence radiating authority and purpose. "Your tyranny ends here, Drakthar. You have brought suffering upon this world, and for that, you will answer to the Emperor." The warlord laughed, a chilling sound echoing off the walls of the chamber, filled with confidence in his own power. The battle was fierce, a clash of titans as Drakthar and Sigismund engaged in combat. The warlord wielded his massive chainsword with a brutality that belied his size, swinging it with lethal precision. Sigismund met him blow for blow, his blade flashing in the dim light, every strike fueled by righteous fury. Around them, the remaining Templars fought against Drakthar's lieutenants, a whirlwind of violence and bloodshed. Helbrecht found himself battling fiercely alongside his brothers, their synchronized movements a testament to their training and bond. The tide of battle shifted as the Templars began to gain the upper hand, breaking through the defenses surrounding Drakthar. In a moment of desperation, Drakthar drew upon his last reserves of strength, channeling the dark energies he had cultivated through his reign of terror. He unleashed a wave of chaotic energy that rippled through the air, striking out at the Templars with malevolent force. Sigismund, feeling the dark energies coiling around him, steeled his resolve, standing firm against the encroaching darkness. With a final, resounding roar, Sigismund surged forward, defying the chaos that sought to envelop him. His blade sliced through the air, finding its mark as he plunged it into Drakthar's chest, the warlord's eyes widening in shock. The dark energies dissipated as Sigismund's blade pierced his heart, and Drakthar crumpled to the ground, lifeless. The remaining forces of Drakthar, witnessing the fall of their leader, began to falter. The Black Templars pressed their advantage, driving the remnants of the warlord's army into retreat. The battle was won, but the scars of conflict would linger. The citizens of Harrow's Reach emerged from hiding, their expressions a mix of relief and disbelief as they realized their oppressors had been defeated. As the Templars began their work of restoring order to Harrow's Reach, Helbrecht felt a sense of fulfillment. They had liberated a world from tyranny, bringing hope back to the oppressed. Sigismund addressed the citizens, proclaiming the Emperor's light had shone upon them once more. The Templars would remain to assist in rebuilding the world, ensuring that the horrors of the past would never return. The Black Templars prepared to depart Harrow's Reach, their spirits high from their victory. They were warriors of the Emperor, dedicated to the protection of humanity and the eradication of evil. Each crusade was a step toward fulfilling their sacred duty, and as they ventured back into the stars, they knew that new challenges awaited them, further reinforcing their resolve to carry out their mission. The galaxy was a dark place, but they would continue to be the beacon of hope for all who suffered under the weight of tyranny. With Harrow's Reach liberated and its citizens freed from the oppressive grip of Drakthar, the Black Templars turned their gaze outward once more, their sights set on the ever-expanding threats to humanity. The galaxy was a turbulent expanse, filled with horrors that lurked in the dark corners of the universe. Among these, a new menace emerged, one that would challenge the very essence of the Templars' faith and commitment. Reports began to circulate of a mysterious cult that had taken root in the neighboring sector, known as the Cult of the Void. This insidious group was dedicated to worshipping ancient and dark entities, drawing power from the abyss itself. Their influence had spread like a disease, corrupting worlds and ensnaring the weak-minded with promises of power and salvation. The Templars understood that this cult represented a significant threat not just to the worlds they inhabited, but to the fabric of the Imperium itself. Determined to root out this heretical organization, Sigismund convened his commanders once more aboard the Sword of the Emperor. As they gathered around the Great War Table, a holographic projection illuminated the space, displaying the locations of known cult activities and their recent expansions. The cult had already established a foothold on several planets, twisting their inhabitants to their dark purpose. The Templars' resolve hardened. They could not allow this corruption to fester unchecked. Helbrecht felt a burning desire to act. The Black Templars were warriors of the Emperor, and their duty was clear. They would embark on a crusade to cleanse these worlds of the taint of the void. Sigismund divided their forces into multiple strike teams, each assigned to a different planet where the cult's influence had been reported. Helbrecht led one of these teams, prepared to confront the dark forces that lay ahead. As the Templars deployed to their respective worlds, Helbrecht's team set down on Malithar, a once thriving planet now steeped in shadows. The atmosphere was thick with an unsettling fog, and the remnants of a civilization lay in ruins around them. The streets were eerily quiet, devoid of life, save for the whispers of the cultists who had claimed this world. The Templars moved with caution, bolters at the ready, aware that the enemy could strike from anywhere. The first encounters with the cult were harrowing. Malithar's inhabitants had been twisted into grotesque mockeries of their former selves, driven mad by the insidious teachings of the Cult of the Void. The Templars engaged these corrupted beings in brutal close-quarters combat. The air filled with the sounds of bolter fire and the cries of the fallen, as they fought to reclaim the streets from the clutches of darkness. Helbrecht and his brothers pressed deeper into the heart of the city, encountering cultists adorned in tattered robes and wielding arcane weaponry. These were not the fanatics they had fought before. The cultists were empowered by dark forces, and they fought with a desperate fury, believing themselves to be invincible. Each confrontation tested the resolve of the Templars, but their faith held strong. The Emperor's light burned brightly within them, guiding their blades and fueling their righteous fury. As they battled through the streets, Helbrecht's team discovered a hidden temple dedicated to the cult of the void, its architecture twisted and unnatural. The structure emanated a palpable aura of malevolence, dark energies swirling around it. It was clear that this was the source of the corruption that had spread across Malethar. Helbrecht felt the weight of destiny pressing upon him, understanding that the heart of the cult needed to be struck down if they were to liberate this world completely. The Templars formed a tight formation as they approached the temple, their bolters primed and their faith unwavering. The cultists within sensed their approach, and a cacophony of chanting erupted from the darkened halls. The air thickened with palpable dread, but the Templars advanced unyieldingly, knowing they fought for a just cause. The temple doors burst open as they entered, revealing a scene of dark worship. Cultists writhed in ecstatic fervor, their voices a chilling hymn to their dark masters. At the center of the temple stood a figure draped in shadows, a high priest of the cult, channeling dark energies that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light as he raised a staff, and tendrils of darkness lashed out at the Templars. The battle within the temple was fierce. Helbrecht and his brothers engaged the cultists, each bolter shot echoing like a prayer as they cut through the throng of heretics. The high priest unleashed dark energies, sending bolts of corruption into their ranks, but the Templars stood firm, their armor absorbing the impacts. They were warriors of the Emperor, and no darkness could extinguish their light. Helbrecht fought his way toward the high priest, determination surging through him. As he approached, the priest summoned forth a storm of shadows, seeking to envelop Helbrecht in despair. Yet he pressed on, channeling the Emperor's will. He could feel the strength of his brothers around him, their resolve bolstering his own as he leaped into the fray. With a clash of metal and darkness, Helbrecht engaged the high priest. The figure towered over him, wielding dark powers that sought to overwhelm. Yet, Helbrecht was resolute, swinging his chainsword with righteous fury. Each strike reverberated with the strength of his conviction, cleaving through the shadows and drawing closer to victory. As the battle raged on, the temple began to tremble, the very foundations of dark energy faltering under the weight of the Templars' faith. With one final surge of will, Helbrecht delivered a decisive blow, plunging his chainsword into the high priest's chest. A cry of rage and despair erupted from the cultist as the dark energies that had surged forth dissipated, swallowed by the light of the Emperor. With the high priest slain, the remaining cultists faltered, their resolve crumbling. The Templars surged forward, driving them from the temple and reclaiming the heart of Malethar for the Imperium. The cries of victory echoed through the city as the Templars stood united, their faith and determination pushing back the shadows. As Helbrecht surveyed the aftermath, he saw the citizens of Malethar emerging from hiding. They were weary but alive, hope ignited in their eyes as they witnessed the fall of the cult. The Black Templars had brought salvation, banishing the darkness that had gripped their world. With their faith restored, the people rallied around their liberators, pledging to aid in the reconstruction of their planet. The victory at Malethar marked only the beginning of the Black Templars' crusade against the cult of the Void. Helbrecht understood that while they had struck a significant blow against the darkness, the cult's influence reached far beyond this world. The Templars would need to continue their fight, moving from planet to planet, unraveling the web of corruption spun by the cult. As they departed Malethar, Helbrecht felt a sense of purpose swelling within him. Each battle fought, each world saved, brought them closer to their ultimate goal: the eradication of all threats to humanity and the sanctification of the Emperor's name. The galaxy was a dark and treacherous place, but the Black Templars would not falter. Their crusade continued, and with each step they took, They brought the light of the Emperor to those who needed it most, embodying the true spirit of humanity's defenders. The victory on Malethar proved to be a beacon of hope, galvanizing the Black Templars for the trials ahead. As they charted their next course of action, the intelligence gathered from the liberated world indicated that the Cult of the Void had infiltrated multiple systems, each one a potential hotspot of heretical activity. The Templars knew they needed to act swiftly and decisively, lest the cult's malign influence spread unchecked. Helbrecht convened a war council aboard the Sword of the Emperor, flanked by his most trusted commanders. The atmosphere in the chamber was tense, charged with purpose and determination. Holoscreens displayed data from across the sector, pinpointing the locations of cult activities. Each point of light on the map represented not just a potential battlefield, but also innocent lives tainted by the cult's corruption. It was a sobering reminder of the work still to be done. Brothers, Helbrecht began, his voice a deep, unwavering rumble. The darkness has not fled. It has only shifted. Our next target is Trados, a world where the cult's presence is strongest. Reports indicate that they are gathering followers, promising power and salvation in exchange for loyalty. We cannot allow them to establish a foothold there. As plans were drawn, the Templars prepared for their next crusade. Trados, a once thriving hive world, was now a grim shadow of its former self, suffocated under the weight of despair. Many citizens had fallen prey to the seductive whispers of the cult, their minds twisted and their souls ensnared by the promise of forbidden power. The Black Templars knew that liberating Trados would require both strength and compassion. They would not only have to confront the cult, but also help free the citizens from their spiritual chains. The Sword of the Emperor descended into Trados' atmosphere, cutting through layers of smog and haze. The hive spires loomed below, sprawling structures where the last remnants of civilization clung to life. As the Templars disembarked, they were met with the sight of desperation etched upon the faces of the people. Many cowered in fear, while others eyed the Astartes with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Helbrecht stepped forward, his presence commanding respect and attention. "Fear not, citizens of Trados. We are the Black Templars, warriors of the Emperor. We have come to liberate you from the darkness that has ensnared your world. Stand with us, and together we shall reclaim your lives from the clutches of evil." His words resonated through the streets, and though some remained skeptical, others stepped forward, emboldened by the promise of salvation. The Templars split into squads, each assigned to different sectors of the hive, ready to root out the cultists and reclaim the hearts and minds of the citizens. As the squads fanned out, they encountered the first signs of cult activity almost immediately. Graffiti adorned the walls, depicting dark symbols and twisted faces, reminders of the cult's grip on the psyche of the populace. Yet it was the whisperings and chants that echoed through the alleyways that truly chilled the Templars' souls. The air was thick with the promise of despair and the lure of false hope. Helbrecht led his squad through a narrow alley, where the shadows seemed to dance unnaturally. They arrived at a derelict building where a gathering was underway. Through the cracked windows, they could see a figure at the center of a congregation, the high priest of the Cult of the Void, draped in dark robes that seemed to absorb the very light around him. His voice rose and fell like a tide, calling the lost and broken to embrace the darkness that offered them power and purpose. "Brothers," Helbrecht commanded, "we will not let this blasphemy continue. We will strike swiftly and purge this heresy from Trados." With that, the Templars kicked in the doors, charging into the gathering with the righteous fury of the Emperor's wrath. The cultists, taken by surprise, scrambled to defend themselves, but their weapons were no match for the fury of the Astartes. Bolter fire rang out, punctuated by the roars of chainswords as the Templars cut through the throng of cultists. their faith driving them forward. The high priest, realizing the threat, attempted to rally his followers. He raised a staff, and a surge of dark energy rippled through the air, momentarily staggering the Templars. Yet it was a fleeting victory for the cultists. Helbrecht rallied his brothers, their resolve unbroken. They surged forward, cutting down the twisted forms that had once been their fellow citizens. Helbrecht faced the high priest, his eyes burning with the intensity of the Emperor's light. The high priest unleashed a torrent of dark energy, but Helbrecht, shielded by his faith, charged through the shadows. He met the priest's dark magic with the righteous wrath of his chainsword, and the clash of power echoed through the chamber. With a swift motion, Helbrecht swung his weapon, cleaving through the staff, shattering the high priest's source of power. The dark energies faltered, and with a final roar, Helbrecht drove his chainsword into the high priest's chest, silencing the blasphemous incantations forever. The remaining cultists, seeing their leader fall, broke and fled, their minds shattered and filled with fear. The victory was not without its costs. As the Templars emerged from the building, they found the streets echoing with the cries of the citizens. Many had witnessed the violence of the cult and the reprisal of the Templars. It was essential now not only to purge the cult, but also to offer the people hope and guidance. Helbrecht and his brothers set to work, reaching out to the terrified populace. They organized medical aid and began the process of cleansing the hive. It was not enough to defeat the cult. They had to restore faith in the Emperor's light. They preached to the people, urging them to reject the darkness and embrace their rightful place as servants of the Imperium. The Templars also set their sights on finding the cult's remaining strongholds, uncovering their hidden bases across Trados. They conducted raids with precision, gathering intelligence on the cult's hierarchy and structure. Each victory not only weakened the cult's influence, but also inspired hope among the citizens, who began to stand with the Templars, reporting any sightings of the heretics. As the weeks passed, Helbrecht's forces continued to dismantle the cult's operations. The Templars led by example, rebuilding the lives of the citizens, helping them find purpose again. This newfound unity between the Templars and the people transformed Trados from a world of despair into one of resilience. Eventually, Helbrecht and his brothers received word that the cult had retreated to the ancient ruins at the outskirts of the hive. The location was shrouded in mystery, a place that had once been a temple to forgotten gods before the Imperium's establishment. Helbrecht recognized that this stronghold would be the heart of the cult of the Void's remaining power on Trados. Gathering a strike force, Helbrecht prepared for the final confrontation. They marched toward the ruins, their hearts filled with resolve and determination. As they approached, the ancient structures loomed before them, an ominous presence that felt alive with the echo of dark energies. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The cultists, driven by desperation, fought with everything they had, but the Templars were unyielding. They pressed forward, cutting down the heretics with a righteous fury, each victory an affirmation of their faith. The air crackled with tension as Helbrecht moved deeper into the ruins, the heart of the cult's operations. Finally, they reached the innermost sanctum, a dark chamber where the cultists had gathered for a final ritual to summon their dark gods. The air was thick with energy, and the chanting intensified as the Templars burst into the chamber. "Your darkness ends here," Helbrecht bellowed, raising his chainsword high. The cultists turned in horror as the Templars charged into their midst, their faith a beacon of light cutting through the encroaching shadows. In the chaos that followed, Helbrecht faced the cult's final leader, a figure cloaked in robes that billowed with dark energy. With an air of malevolence, this leader called upon the dark powers, but Helbrecht stood firm, unyielding against the tide of darkness. The clash of faith against despair reached a crescendo, and Helbrecht struck with righteous fury, ending the cult's reign on Trados once and for all. As the dust settled, the remaining cultists fled, their power shattered. The Templars emerged victorious, their mission complete. Trados had been liberated, and the light of the Emperor shone once more upon its people. In the days that followed, Helbrecht and his brothers began the process of healing the world. The Templars worked alongside the citizens, rebuilding the shattered lives and helping them rediscover their faith. Through compassion and strength, they forged a bond that would last for generations. The Black Templars had not only defeated the darkness, but had become a source of hope and unity for the people of Trados. As Helbrecht gazed out over the hive, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight against the cult of the Void had strengthened their resolve and reminded them of their sacred duty to the Emperor. The galaxy was filled with threats, but as long as the Black Templars stood vigilant, they would bring the light of humanity to every corner of the Imperium, turning back the darkness one battle at a time. With the defeat of the cult of the Void and the liberation of Trados, Helbrecht and the Black Templars found themselves faced with a new challenge. Reports began to filter in from across the sector, indicating that remnants of the cult had coalesced into a more sinister entity known as the Scourge of the Void. This organization was rumored to be gaining strength, rallying other heretical factions and igniting unrest on several worlds. The potential threat it posed was grave, and Helbrecht knew that the Templars must act quickly to prevent a full-scale resurgence of chaos. Gathering his commanders aboard the Sword of the Emperor, Helbrecht discussed the situation. Maps displayed various systems that had fallen under the cult's influence. As they examined the data, a grim reality emerged. The Scourge of the Void was not merely a continuation of the Cult of the Void, but had evolved into a far more dangerous adversary. It had adopted guerrilla tactics, using deception and subterfuge to undermine imperial authority, striking from the shadows to instill fear among the populace. This new approach posed significant challenges for the Templars, who prided themselves on their martial prowess and direct confrontation. Helbrecht contemplated their strategy. The Black Templars were renowned for their boldness and valor, but to combat an enemy that thrived on stealth and cunning, they would need to adapt. They decided to split their forces and target multiple locations where the Scourge had made its presence felt. Each squad would be tasked with gathering intelligence and confronting cult cells to unravel the organization's leadership structure. Helbrecht assigned himself and his most elite squad to the industrial world of Cryos, a planet that had become a hotbed of unrest. The populace there had been riled up by the Scourge, and violent protests against the Imperium had erupted in the capital city. The potential for chaos was immense, and Helbrecht understood that restoring order would require both combat prowess and diplomatic finesse. Upon arrival at Cryos, the Templars were met with scenes of turmoil. The once bustling streets were now filled with angry citizens shouting against the Emperor's rule. The city had been infiltrated by the Scourge, spreading lies and fomenting dissent. As Helbrecht and his squad disembarked, they could see the evidence of the cult's insidious influence. Posters plastered on walls bearing the symbol of the Scourge, urging the people to rise against their oppressors. Determined to restore peace, Helbrecht led his squad into the heart of the city. They marched through the streets, their power armor gleaming under the harsh industrial lights, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding them. As they approached the central plaza, a group of protesters gathered, shouting slogans against the Imperium. Helbrecht raised a hand, calling for silence. "Citizens of Cryos, we are the Black Templars, warriors of the Emperor. We have not come to oppress you, but to protect you from the forces that seek to tear you apart." His voice boomed across the plaza, commanding attention. At first, there was confusion, then a ripple of hope spread through the crowd. Yet, there were also murmurs of dissent. voices tainted by the lies of the scourge. A figure stepped forward from the crowd, a charismatic leader with a wild look in his eyes. You speak of protection, Astartes, but what have we received? Only neglect and oppression. We will not be silenced. Helbrecht felt the tension in the air, recognizing that this was no ordinary citizen but a key figure in the Scourge's propaganda machine. The man was skilled in the art of rhetoric, sowing discord and manipulation among the people. We will not let fear guide our actions. Helbrecht replied, his voice steady. You are being used as pawns in a game you do not understand. The Scourge of the Void is not your ally. They seek only to plunge you into chaos. The leader scoffed, rallying the crowd. What do you know of our struggles? We have seen only the oppression of the Imperium. Your kind comes with swords and guns, not with understanding. The crowd roared in agreement, and Helbrecht felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He realized that mere force would not be enough to sway the people. He needed to demonstrate the Templars' commitment to their protection. Then let us show you, Helbrecht declared, glancing at his squad. We will confront the Scourge. We will prove to you that their promises are false and that the Emperor's light will guide you from this darkness. With the crowd still agitated, Helbrecht decided to take a bold step. He called for a public demonstration of strength against the Scourge. If they could expose the heretics and their lies, it might sway the hearts of the citizens. The Templars marched to a nearby factory, rumored to be a hiding place for Scourge operatives. As they approached, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The citizens had begun to follow them, drawn by the promise of confrontation. Helbrecht led the charge, the sound of bolters echoing through the streets as they stormed the factory. Inside, they were met with resistance. Cultists, armed with crude weapons and bolstered by fervor, awaited them. The Templars fought fiercely, their training and discipline evident as they cut through the heretics with calculated precision. Each swing of their chainswords and each pull of the trigger was accompanied by shouts of, "For the Emperor!" The factory, once filled with the sound of machinery, was transformed into a battlefield. As the fight raged on, Helbrecht encountered the cult leader from the plaza, who had taken refuge within the factory's depths. The man was emboldened, believing he could turn the tide against the Templars. "You think you can silence us? We are the voice of the people," he screamed, unleashing a hail of fire toward Helbrecht. Helbrecht moved with purpose, dodging the incoming fire before closing the distance. "You are nothing but a coward, hiding behind your lies and deception," he roared as he charged, his chainsword revving with a terrifying growl. The clash was fierce, but Helbrecht's skill and strength prevailed. In a decisive moment, he drove his chainsword through the cult leader, silencing the voice of discord. As the last of the cultists fell, Helbrecht turned to face the crowd that had followed them. The fight had been brutal, and he knew they had to see the aftermath. The evidence of the Scourge's lies laid bare before them. The factory was a testament to the chaos they sought to sow, and he hoped it would open their eyes. "Witness what the Scourge truly is," he bellowed, gesturing to the fallen cultists. "These are the ones who would lead you to ruin. You have been misled, but together we can rebuild and forge a future worthy of the Emperor's light." Slowly, the tension in the crowd began to dissipate. Some stepped forward, their eyes wide with realization. They had seen the truth. The Scourge was a lie built on promises of power and rebellion that would ultimately lead to their destruction. The Templars had shown them the strength of their conviction and the unwavering resolve to protect them. As the sun set over Cryos, the citizens began to rally behind the Black Templars. They started to see the Imperium not as oppressors but as protectors. Helbrecht and his brothers worked alongside the people, helping to restore order and rebuild the city. They organized efforts to heal the wounds of the past, providing food, shelter, and guidance to those who had suffered. In the days that followed, Helbrecht continued to engage with the citizens, listening to their concerns and sharing the values of the Imperium. The Templars hosted gatherings where they spoke of faith, duty, and loyalty, encouraging the people to reclaim their rightful place within the Emperor's light. Yet, while they rebuilt Cryos, Helbrecht was acutely aware that the Scourge of the Void would not remain dormant for long. He knew they would regroup and retaliate. The Templars increased their vigilance, working to root out any remaining cultists and ensuring that the city remained secure. As intelligence reports flowed in, it became clear that the Scourge was organizing a counteroffensive, mobilizing forces to reclaim their lost ground. Helbrecht prepared for the inevitable confrontation, gathering his most skilled warriors for a decisive battle. With the citizens of Cryos united and standing behind the Templars, Helbrecht felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead would be fraught with danger, but he knew that together they could face whatever the Scourge threw at them. The bond forged between the Templars and the people was a powerful weapon against the encroaching darkness. The final confrontation loomed on the horizon, and Helbrecht would not falter. The fight for Cryos was not merely about reclaiming a world. It was about restoring hope, faith, and unity in the Emperor's name. With the strength of the Templars and the resolve of the citizens, they would stand firm against the tide of heresy and protect the Imperium from the shadows that threatened to engulf it.